I just figured out. My brother is going through some infidelity because he's a dirty cheater, but there's another secret that's going to absolutely ruin him. And well, I know that secret.
Hey guys, I'm just here for some advice. I know from my title alone, a lot of you people are judging me, and already dubbing me a sibling traitor, and I can say I understand why you think that. After all, blood's supposed to be thicker than water. Unfortunately for me, whatever blood was there, it's gone thin many years ago. I've been disowned by my whole family since I was 26 and came out as a lesbian. My family was very conservative, so they weren't having any of it. So I've been on my own ever since, and my brother, he was especially homophobic then about it too. In fact, he was the cruelest to me when I came out. Still, I've been happily out of contact with him for many years now, and living my best of life. I'd learned through social media of my brother's marriage 3 years ago, and I don't really think much of it. The only and main thought that came to my mind when I did see his wife, whose name I learned to be Claire, was that she seemed to be pretty kind and pure to be with. Well, she has to be pure to be with an a-hole like my brother. As even though I had not been around him in years, I knew a leopard doesn't change its spots. Still, as time passed, I saw more and more about their life online. I grew curious as I did not expect the marriage to last as long as it did. So I decided to drop by her workplace a few times, just to observe her from a near, yet far enough distance, and she was a sweetheart. I thought of exposing my brother for the a-hole that he was to her, but I didn't, as I didn't feel like it was my place. Plus, from their social media and from how long their marriage has lasted, it seemed even though he was an a-hole, he was being a pretty good husband, so I just didn't want to stir up any drama. Turns out, I probably should have done it though, as only 2 weeks ago, I visited this members-only gay club, which I frequent since my ex, who was a member, had introduced it to me, and it was an entertaining place to be. Anyways, I went there, and lo and behold, what do I witness? My darling brother and his best friend. Well, they entered one of the private rooms. Now, you know I was confused as heck when I first saw it, and I just didn't want to assume what was already clear, so I wanted more information. I spoke to a friend that I had there, as I was a long-standing member, and what do you know? I got just enough info to confirm my suspicions. That homophobic jerk has been coming here with his best friend for years. He's basically been cheating on his wife this whole time. At first, I wanted to overlook it, but I remembered the hell he put me through when I came out, and I also remembered his best friend siding along with him. Plus, I thought of how his wife would feel, knowing about such a betrayal, and I knew I had to make her know, to at least give her a choice in all this, as it showed me just how much of an a-hole he truly was. Since I decided to tell his wife, I knew I had to have some sort of proof, so I wanted to try to get a picture or something of them in the act, but it was impossible. All I ended up gathering was a few pictures of them entering the room and exiting, along with the pic of the room in a complete mess after they left, and I also managed to get a log of their bookings, and my lord, they visited the club almost every 3 to 5 days. Any woman with eyes would be able to piece this together. I did not tell the wife immediately, though. Instead, I waited until another opportunity arose, and I managed to catch a picture of them kissing. Though, yeah, it was a questionable angle. If she did put everything together, there was certainly no denying their affair. Still, even after compiling all that evidence, I was not entirely sure if I wanted to really take the final step and show everything to Claire. Yet, after a few days, I saw a post on her socials, where she hinted about them trying for a child, and I could not hold it anymore. So, taking the proof I had, I rode to her workplace and waited until her shift was complete. I'd approached her, and as kindly as I possibly could, I asked for about an hour of her time. She was hesitant, but I eventually convinced her, and I brought her to a private room that I booked by one of the restaurants. It cost me a nice big sum of money. Yeah, but I simply did not mind, as I felt she would need privacy after I informed her of what I knew. Anyway, she first asked about my identity, and when I told her, she tried to deny it, saying how she was told by my brother and my parents that I died many years back. This shocked me, as even though I knew they disowned me, I didn't know that they would go to such drastic measures. Luckily, I had proof to show her that I was indeed the sister of her a-hole of a husband. Anyways, after that, I kinda just told her about what he was doing behind her back and what he had done to me to explain why I wasn't part of the family anymore. She was shocked, and when I say shocked, I meant throw up kinda shocked. Luckily, there were paper bags, else I would have to pay extra for the cleaning they would have to do. Still, after the shock came denial and then anger. She pretty much accused me of lying and of trying to destroy her marriage, saying she didn't know what game I was playing and how she would not let me win. And just a bag of other stuff, which I didn't really blame her for, since I could understand how it must have felt to pretty much have their life turned upside down by a stranger she never met. I still gave her my card though, which had my contact information, along with a copy of evidence I gathered. I told her it was up to her from there on, and well, that was pretty much it. Now, was I the a-hole for doing so? Maybe, maybe not. All I know is I'm happy I did it, as I may have possibly just saved a woman from the heart attack and heartbreak of knowing her husband never really loved her. And when it was too late for her to walk away as she was too deeply involved. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today's story is such a drama. Oh man, but wait. There's multiple updates to hop into, so let's go ahead and hop into update number 1. I must say, I'm pretty surprised by all the positive feedback I've got. I wasn't expecting it, but thank you. It clearly makes me feel better about what I've done. I also noticed some of you requesting updates. Well, here it is. As you know, I revealed everything to my sister-in-law last week, and she was in denial. That seemed to change 3 days ago because she contacted me. We met up the day after, and she asked me to help her out. With what you may ask, well, we're gonna spy on Brother Dearest. She did not still fully believe that he was in a full-blown affair with his best friend, so she wanted to see it for herself, and no, I can't blame her, as I didn't really have anything to, so I agreed. She took a 1-month leave from her job, and we should be getting to work tomorrow. Here's the plan. It's for her to check his schedule, keep tabs on him. She'll search for any suspicious time-lapse or planned events like business meetings, dinners, trips, and ones that just don't add up. She said that if what I told her's true, then whatever we find will not only be confirmed, but it'll also be evidence for the divorce. So, wish us luck. I also got to know her during this discussion, and I have to wonder just what kind of magic my jerk of a brother worked to bag himself a woman like her. Because, well, she's awesome. And quite strong, because even as all this went on, she hasn't cried once, at least not the day that I revealed it or when we were discussing our plan that could lead to divorce. Still, I'll update you guys when there's any progress. Update number 2. So it happened. Hey guys, here's my update. We found proof. It took us a few weeks, but we found it. After days of studying his schedule, Claire had found a suspicious evening event that was booked at a very, very high-end classy restaurant. We followed them there, but we could not enter, so we waited. And that wait paid off well, because both were very tipsy when they came out, making it clear that they were drinking. This tipsiness worked in our favor as it made them less careful, which gave us the perfect amount of evidence we needed. as by the time they entered the car, they didn't wait to get home before they started kissing. With it being pretty late and they were parked in such a secluded area, their semi-sober minds must have told them it was safe. We managed to capture it, which quickly escalated further from kissing. They had rolled up the windows by then, so we didn't see what they were doing, but gosh, the car told it all. My reaction at the moment was quite reserved, as by then they started kissing, and I just placed my focus mainly on Claire, and I was genuinely surprised when she kept her cool, showing almost no reaction, and I was curious as to what she was thinking, as we sat through the whole thing, even watching as they drove out. She did not speak throughout the ride back, but when we finally got to my house because she had told him she would be with friends for a few days, all that she said was thank you, and then she went to bed. I didn't try to force her to talk, as I could only vaguely understand what she could be thinking then, so I gave her space. And the next day she informed me of her plans to file for divorce, but she first planned to confront the two. I didn't question her on why she wanted to do that, as I understood the need for understanding and closure. I knew she must have had so many questions, which would probably mainly be, why marry a woman when you clearly love a man? Knowing my brother, I knew exactly why. It's simply a part of his meticulous mask. Not only did it make him look like this perfect man, with his life all planned out and put together, which would build his credibility, but it also kept him safe from suspicions, and made our parents happy since it was always expected of him. This confrontation will go down in the next 3 days. She's apparently wanting to go to dinner, where she'll stage a double date. She planned to tell my brother and his best friend Benjamin that she had told her best friend about Benjamin and apparently she wants to meet him. She was sure this would work as she had heard my brother Ryan talking about how Benji had been doing online dating to find himself a wife. Likely to cover up his private preferences in the eyes of the public, just as my brother did, so she would use that opportunity. The catch, though, is that my apparent best friend would be me, as she wanted me to be present when she confronted them. Maybe for safety reasons, proof reasons, or just for moral support, and I had no problem with that because I kinda want to see my brother's reaction when he learned this secret has been found out, and also when he learns he'll be losing half of his net worth because he cannot be honest for once in his life. Claire had made it known from the moment she informed me of her plans to divorce. She wants half, and if not half, then more. And oh boy, she was adamant about it. And even though there were cases where men lost half their worth and didn't deserve it, oh no, I fully believe my brother deserves to lose it, even though he worked his whole life for it. Well, I'll update you guys after the dinner, as I'm sure you're all very invested at this point. Thank you all for your support in the comment section. Update number 3. Oh Lord. Oh boy, where should I begin? Because this is going to be a long one, huh? The dinner happened and it was, let's just say, entertaining. Firstly, the moment it began, the tension was thick. Why? Because I decided to dress quite masculine, which wasn't hard to pull off as I am one of the lucky masculines to have a flat chest and a tall muscular build. Plus, after 9 years, many tattoos, and 2 gyms later, a change in style, and a few piercings here and there, my brother's ability to recognize the big sister he once knew had pretty much gone down the drain. So, sitting there, watching them try to ignore the tension and Benjamin squirming was so darn amusing. Claire done all the introductions, and I'd purposely kept my mouth closed even when I was spoken to, as while physically I could not be recognized, my voice, well, it was very recognizable. While I was good at disguise, Claire honestly showed me that she, well, had maybe chosen the wrong career with the level of acting she did while she served and went through dinner. Eating was easy for me and Claire, but not so much for Benjamin and Ryan, who tried many times to get Claire from around the table with a heck of a load of attempts and clues, all of which were intentionally ignored. By the time dinner was over and dessert was about to be served, he was red in the face with a strained expression of pleasantry on his face. The final straw was when he reached for what was a wine bottle, and I snatched it before he could have it. Then instead of pouring it, I just went straight to the lips. That made him grit out his very first direct words that addressed the tension, and that was, "Claire, what the hell is this?" I'd relaxed back in my seat at that moment, knowing the drama was about to play out, and boy, I was right, because instead of rushing to the answer, Claire had done the boss move. Such a boss chick. Taking 2 generous bites of her cake and a sip of nice wine. Then she cleaned her lips elegantly with her napkin before she finally, methodically replied, and it was so simple that I could not help but scream internally at how much of a "I am here" moment it was. "What is this that you speak of, husband dearest?" Her face was blank when she asked this, and I could tell that, well, he wanted to burst into flames at the head as he glared at her. "What the hell is all this? You made us take our time out of our night when we're supposed to have a business dinner and meet with clients, and told us that you had a possible date for Benjamin, and this is who you call a date? A crazy, funky-looking alcoholic who looks no short of a man. You know, the last thing Benjamin prefers is men, and you brought a freaking man. What does this look like, a game to you?" After he finally blew up, Claire just blankly watched him. And I waited, and I waited, and the wait was worth her response, 'cause it was golden. And if I had not had a crush on that woman already, I surely have after what she came back with. "Oh, really now? Something about that statement isn't quite right, dear husband." He'd frowned when she said that, and stared at her as if she was being ridiculous, but she'd easily continued by saying, Well, let's replace the business meet and dinner with clients with a date for you 2 lovers to relax over a long week of work. Oh yeah, and the part of men being the last thing Benjamin prefers, well, that's his main preference, according to what I've learned in the last few weeks." The dumb look on their faces was memorable in the moment, and if possible I would have taken a picture, as I'm sure you'd have a field day with it. Still, as the argument escalated, the true reason for the dinner finally came out, and that was the first time I saw Claire show true emotion towards the whole thing. She did not cry or scream, but her eyes said it all. She was a woman hurting deeply as she pleaded with the man she had loved and devoted herself to for the last 5 years. For the truth, and instead of finally accepting his loss and that he was caught, he tried to gaslight her into believing she was crazy and seeing or hearing things. Denying vehemently the accusations being thrown at him, and even resorts to a homophobia to make his feedback seem more credible. When Claire really saw that, well, he would not tell the truth even if she was dying to hear it, she decides to draw the evidence after the first piece. Well, they tried to make it seem as if it was just a misunderstood image, taken from a bad angle, of course, but in the second, they suggested Photoshop, and as the proof rolled in more and more, they just conjured excuse after excuse, and if I had not seen it for myself and known just how messed up they were, well, I probably would have believed them. When they finally broke was when the last few pieces of evidence were shown. There were videos of them doing what no married man and his male best friend should be doing. Don't question how we got them. Only after this did he try to reason with her and not gaslight her, but even then it wasn't in the slightest bit an apologetic apology. And by this, I guess Claire was exhausted and she simply told him she wants a divorce. After she said this, he tried to offer that they had a conversation like adults, as if that wasn't what Claire was doing all along, and she's seeing right through his crap. It was just not having any more of it, and it made me happy. While she went to get the suitcase she packed, I finally revealed my identity to the two. The shock on their face was so delicious and so pleasing to the soul. "Oh, what a way you turned out, little brother. Not so different than your older sister, eh? Oh, wait, you're a bit different in your preferences since I like to give, but you, on the other hand, seem to enjoy taking. Seeing the way his face flushed red at that moment had satisfied my soul to the fullest, and it was as if all the pain had been embarrassment he put me through right then and there. Washed away. While we left, Claire had told him that he should look out to receive papers in a few days, and wished him luck in keeping at least half of his stuff. Driving away from there felt like a villain moment, and it was just so satisfying. I'm really looking forward to the next few days, since the divorce papers should be processed in the next few days and mailed to him. Update number 4. So, the divorce papers got delivered 3 days ago, and we're now in the waiting room, waiting to hear the decision of the judge. Today was the day when my girl Claire would not only regain her freedom, but also gain half of my brother's assets that he worked so hard for. It made me happy because that jerk tried to threaten us into not filing for divorce. When he realized that his apologetic and gift-giving tactics weren't working, wow. Not only had he tried to get to Claire's workplace to convince her out for filing a divorce, but he had also somehow found my information. Yet lucky for me, I work as a freelancer, so I can't be found unless I wish to be found. He had left multiple messages on her phone trying to convince her into forgiving him, even proposing that he'd break his friendship and relationship with Benjamin if she came back. When he felt that wasn't working, he then tried to convince us that Benjamin was the one to blame, saying how he seduced him and how he even drugged him. And then they had a video that he was using as blackmail. Whenever that was a lie or the truth, it didn't matter, as his problems were those of his own. And seeing the way they acted, it was hard to believe, as they were clearly in love. Anyways, when that all did not work, that's when he resorted to threatening Claire to get her fired from her job. Yeah, and destroying her reputation. It was online, so that other wild threats, but the one that really made me step in was when he threatened to have her charged for getting rid of her child, even though it was a miscarriage. Once he brought that up, I called him up and I made it clear to him that if he ever just did not agree to the divorce, all the tapes, all the pictures that we possibly have are going to be released to the public, effectively ruining his reputation. So even if he did all that he threatened to, we would drag him down with us. That shut him up. Real quick, actually, since, we had been kind enough to not expose his preferences to the world, while he may have been cruel to me when I came out, causing me to lose almost my whole life. I did not wish to stoop to his level, and once this was done, he quickly shut up and agreed to sign the divorce papers and go through the process. So that brings us to today. We'd been with the lawyers all day, and they'd been discussing and negotiating the divorce. With both parties agreeing to it, it's pretty much open and shut. But throughout the process, my brother's lawyer seemed to be torn, as while his client had been cooperative, he clearly was giving up on an opportunity that could work much better in his favor. Unfortunately, that client of his was pretty much trapped between a rock and a hard place. So, since he could choose to fight for his stuff and rights, but in exchange, well, I guess he would have his reputation ruined. Or he could obediently hand him over and keep his little mask intact. The choice was pretty clear, and seeing the barely contained pain in his face was just pure pleasure. The judge would be giving the final verdict in the next few minutes, so I guess this will be my last update. Well, for now at least. If there's any developments or changes, you'll be sure to know. Update number 5. Hey guys, so it's been a while since my last update, but it's been quite busy. There's been a development that was unforeseen, and it's really quite bothersome. Claire had gotten her divorce from my brother 2 months ago, and we thought everything would have been over, but a month ago, things seemed to have changed. While she was driving back to my place, since she had decided to continue living with me, even after the divorce was finalized, she had a tray of eggs thrown at her windshield, almost completely blinding her to the road. Luckily, this problem was solved and she came out safety. Yet, it wasn't the last of such incidents. While out shopping, she told me that she was followed around by a man in dark clothing and a mask, and she had even received weird, insulting, threatening messages right there on her phone. I knew that the only way something like this could happen was if it had something to do with Ryan, her ex-husband, and my brother. Sadly, we have no way to prove it, and in the recent week, the most dangerous of the harassments and stalking issues occurred. While driving, she was rear-ended, and in a way that damaged the car a little, but did not do much damage to her. It was almost like a scare tactic, and, well, I had called my brother and told him to stop whatever it was that he's up to. But he was smug, acted all innocent, and sadly we could not use the proof that we had on him anymore to expose him, as he's gotten his lawyers to draft a contract for him to get all the proof once the divorce was finalized. So I knew I had to find another way to get him to stop. I decided to do the same as before, and now I'm going to stalk him. I worried most of the time that the person he had stalking Claire would spot me and inform him about it, making him almost impossible to catch in a compromised situation. Still, after 2 very stressful and exhausting weeks of doing this, I managed to gather some information, but it was nowhere enough to get him to back down. Still, I had the brilliance of Claire, and once I showed her what I've gathered, well, she went to work with it. Soon she was able to find something I missed. Not only were he and Benjamin not seen together very often, they barely were seeming to interact anymore, and whenever they did, it was either purely professional or just really, really short meetups. Seeming as if there was trouble in paradise, well, we also noticed something else. While Ryan did not frequent the member-only gay club that he used to, he still frequented another, often going home in an Uber because he was simply too drunk to drive. And most nights he would go home with somebody. So, noticing this, Claire suggested that we go to the help of a friend of hers. He was a beautiful, beautiful man, and he was gay, and he was also quite good at trapping men. The only reason we could not get Ryan to stop his stalking and harassment activities was that we could not prove that it was him. We planned to use this friend to get the proof that we needed. And so the plan went like this. He dressed up all nice to go to the club Ryan frequented this Friday night, get him drunk, then seduce him to get a bit of information. It was not a perfect plan, as so much could go wrong, but the friend assured us that he could get the job done. So we placed our faith in him, and now all I can do is just sit back and wait. If we succeed, I'll update you. If not, well, then I guess you'll just know. Final update posted by OP. Oh boy. Hey guys, this is my final update on the very roller coaster-like situation. As you know, our plan from last time was to have an insider get Brother Dearest to admit to his crime, and oh boy, it went swimmingly. The night that we drove to the bar and waited until Ryan arrived, and just like the many nights before, he came by himself. You could also tell he was pretty frustrated since he had not even changed from the work attire. Instead, his tie was pulled out and his cuff rolled up as he went into the club with a scowl from hell on his face. My best guess, that was he likely had an argument with his lover boy, and so he was there to blow off a bit of steam, which made it the perfect time for our dear friend to swoop in, so a bit after Ryan entered, our friend also entered. I waited in the car patiently, and within 2 hours they were leaving. That friend was carrying Ryan's drunken form up against his shoulders. He dragged him into the back seat of the car, and once they were in, I played my part of the plan as designated driver. Ryan was out of his mind drunk, so he had no time to notice that I was the driver. So by the time we arrived at the motel, I just waited patiently in the car as my friend brought him to the room to do whatever he did to get the information. Which I knew wasn't much as he returned within 30 minutes, a bored look on his face. The first thing he had said when he hopped into the car had me bursting into laughter. My brother was the lousiest lay he'd ever had since he was a teenager. He also commented that he kinda did Claire a favor by cheating so that she could leave his worthless butt. Anyways, I didn't immediately ask for the info in the car, but once we got back to my place, I got it, and I almost split my face in two with how hard I smiled. Right on the recording, loud and clear, was the drunken voice of him ranting about his jerk of an ex-wife, as he called her, saying how she basically robbed him of half of his assets and how she won't get a dime, saying he'd make sure that she never had a peaceful moment in her life, and a bunch of other pointless things. Yet, his most incriminating statement came when he said he regrets telling the man to just scare her with a rear-ending wreck and not just hurt her for ruining his life and his relationship. Once I heard that, let me tell you, I was angry and I was happy. Claire wasn't up when we returned, so I only had her listen to the recording in the morning. I decided to question her on what to do, and she said that she did not want to take the case to court. Instead, she said she wanted it to be used to blackmail him and just to get him to back off and leave her alone. So, calling him up, we kept him on speaker, as without a word we played back the recording to him. He was silent through the whole thing, clearly able to tell that his hands were basically tied, and once it finished playing, I simply said, "Call off your dog, or this fine little recording is going to end up in the hands of those officers at the police station 4 miles away from your home, and I doubt you'd want what's left of your network to go towards legal fees." Well, he didn't respond and he hung up. Now, that's been almost a month ago, and life has returned to normal. So yeah, it seems it all worked in my favor. Thank you for the following, and just take care, guys.
To be honest with you guys, if this was not enough drama for you, well, your drama meter must be a lot higher than mine, because that story was a heck of a roller coaster. I mean, wow. What would you even do if you were in OP's position? I would love to hear from you guys because, well, I don't know what I would do. Drop your comments down below, put it in the comment section. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day and animate them as well. So if you want to join and you like listening to these type of stories, all you gotta do is click subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.